everyone, Dr. Lukman here, welcoming you back to the Catster YouTube channel, formerly known as the Excited Cats YouTube channel, bringing you another cat topic today. First things first, Merry Christmas to everyone who's celebrating and Happy Holidays to all of you out there. I do wish that the holiday season is extremely rewarding for you and offers you all, ample time to bond with your family, friends, relatives, pets, etc. And I do sincerely wish all of you a very blessed and happy 2024. Now, before we get into today's video, this is your kind reminder to please do hit that subscribe button. We always do love a like, and as always, we welcome any comments you have for us. Now, for today's video, a bit of a story. I've had the ultimate tragedy, well, not tragedy, I'm being dramatic, but that's just how I am. Anyway, I've had the ultimate, I would say, ride with my Christmas tree this year. Or, the delays I had in getting my Christmas tree. I ended up having to improvise with a very sort of like sculpture-esque Christmas tree, which, I would say it's different, you did that, like, go tree, but it's not really a traditional Christmas tree. Anyway, here's hoping that my resolution should just be to, grow a new tree, like in January, so I have it ready for next year, December. I'm kidding. Maybe I'm not, actually. That's actually a good idea. Okay, put a pin in that idea. But anyway, point being that the reason you don't see my Christmas tree is because I had, quite a saga with it, but that's enough of that. I'll be celebrating Christmas with friends who have a very lovely tree in their house, etc. And anyway, yeah, as I said before, I do hope you're all having a very nice Christmas up there. And in today's video, we're going to talk about resolutions. So New Year's is around the corner, and this is also a time when many people have personal resolutions. Now, my actual resolution is to get a pet next year, hopefully, fingers crossed, because this is honestly the longest I've gone in my life without having a pet, and the period is around 2.5 to 3 years. So this is literally the longest I've been without a pet ever since I was like 6. So I got my first pet when I was 6. And since then, I've always had a pet until, recently. I don't know why I'm in such a dry spell. But yeah, my resolution is to get a pet. And actually, one of my first pets as a child was a cat. It was a really friendly stray cat. Well, she was not super friendly at first. She eventually warmed up to us because we would always feed her. And she had kittens around and everything. And we had this kind of like shed in our backyard that we didn't really use. And she decided that that would be her nursery. And so she had kittens in our house frequently. Now, as a child, I didn't actually know why she was having kittens frequently, but that's beyond the point. It's because she's an intact female and she's basically always in heat because of the climate where I grew. Always allowed ample sunlight, and sunlight exposure is one of the factors that female cats have that sort of like triggers their reproductive cycle. Another resolution is to get better at my click, because honestly, okay, there we go. Anyway, so back then, when we had this cat is when I actually decided that I wanted to be a vet. And I was like 6 or 7 at this time. Yeah, 6. And the only thing I had back then, thankfully, was actually the Catster magazine. Now, I'm not that old, but I do have to like scroll when I'm on a website and I have to enter my age. But point being, we did not really have the internet. We got dial-up when I was like, oh my God, this is like a flashback now. We got dial-up internet when I was, I want to say 8, 9, 10, something around there. That's when we got dial-up, a dial-up modem in our house. So I relied heavily on the Catster magazine to get all my cat information, and thankfully I had access to that. And meanwhile, today we have access to videos on the internet and ebooks, etc. What a time to be alive. Anyway. But this got me thinking that, we all do have resolutions. And one of my resolutions back then was to become a veterinarian, which, yay, I got it. With the idea that I do want to adopt a pet next year, hopefully, I was wondering if there should be a list of resolutions for cat owners, be it first-time cat owners or people who've had cats for a while or people who are considering getting a cat. And so if I were to write a list and present it to my younger self as to what I should do when I have a pet cat, I was thinking that these are my so-called cat owner resolutions that I would pass to my younger self. And I'd like to share these today with you because I think that as pet owners, there's always room for improvement, just like how as veterinarians, there's always room for growth and improvement. So we're always constantly trying to improve ourselves. And, striving to improve ourselves is wonderful as veterinarians, but if we cannot impart that knowledge, then it's not considered a successful task, in my opinion, because at the end of the day, a really large part of our job entails educating pet owners. So here we go with cat owner resolutions for 2024. First is a veterinary wellness visit. Now, this is very important for all pet cats. It's also important for new pet cats that you adopt. Essentially, you want your veterinarian to have a look at your cat at least once a year to ensure that they are in good health and to update their medical records. Now, for senior pets, we actually do recommend more frequent wellness checkups. We usually do advise it at least twice a year, in some instances even 3 times a year if possible. And if you have a new cat, as in a cat you've just adopted, and the cat is either not vaccinated or you are not sure about their vaccination status, then we actually recommend a more frequent initial period where you would have to get your cat, all their vaccinations. This brings us to our second resolution, is to be on top of your cat's vaccination records. Now, there are many, many vaccines out there in terms of I'm speaking commercial vaccines, and there's no way for us to know what vaccines your cat got in their past. Some vaccines are more long-lasting than others. Some vaccines are combination vaccines, which means they combine, the vaccine effect against several different diseases or ailments into one jab. So essentially, nobody knows what vaccines your cat got. There are some core vaccines which are recommended for cats depending on where you stay. So these are vaccines that are considered mandatory for pet cats, which would be included in your cat's vaccination regimen. However, with this regimen comes the task of knowing when your cat needs to get their vaccinations updated. Now, not all vaccinations have to be repeated every single year, but some vaccinations do have to be repeated on a regular interval, depending on the vaccine and the disease in question. So the second resolution would be to stay on top of your cat's vaccinations. Third, we are going to talk about preventive medication for parasites. Now, with spring approaching, if you're in the northern hemisphere, or winter approaching, if you're in the southern hemisphere, it's, very obvious that the weather will change. And the life cycle of many parasites is actually very much weather dependent. Generally speaking, the warmer it is, the more active their life cycle is. By active life cycle, it means that they are, prolific at this period, and they actually tend to complete their life cycle at this period, which means that they will finish their life cycle from egg all the way to hatching to maturing into a juvenile and then an adult and then reproducing and then laying eggs. So the complete life cycle for most parasites. The warmer it is, the more rapid it is. That means the more quickly they can finish their life cycle. This also means that as the weather changes, many dormant parasites become more active and may infect your feline. Now, I cannot stress this enough that you should not over-medicate your pet cat. And you should not preemptively medicate them with any sort of topical solution or any kind of anti-parasite that you have access to, because over-medicating your cat is not considered healthy. However, when you do go for your veterinary wellness checkups, you should discuss parasite control with your veterinarian to ensure that your cat is protected from parasites. In some parts of the world, like where I reside right now, parasites are actually present year-round. So I live in a tropical country, so we actually don't really get winter. We just get rain and more rain, and that's pretty much it. So if someone were to come to me, there would actually not be much downtime with regards to, ectoparasite control and ectoparasite preventives over here. However, things might be different where you reside, and the parasites might be different where you reside as well. So this is definitely something you have to do. However, this is something you should consider discussing with your veterinarian. And it's also very dangerous to diagnose your pets yourself because many different ailments other than mites can lead to the same signs in pet cats. For example, if your cat's ears are itchy, it does not necessarily mean that they have ear mites. So if they have another issue, but you administer ear mite drops without consulting your vet, you're actually not helping your cat, and you're probably making them more irritated, and you're actually prolonging their suffering before they finally do get help. So just bear in mind that veterinary input is very, very important for this step. Number 4. This is something that's very interesting and near and dear to my heart. My resolution would be to review my cat's nutritional needs and my cat's current diet. Now, there are many, many different kind of diets out there for pet cats. We have your dry diet, which is also known as kibbles. We have your canned diet, also known as wet food. We have fresh diets, which are not considered ultra processed as canned foods are. They also have a shorter shelf life when compared to canned foods and kibbles. And then of course we have raw diets, and then we have some pets that require, specialized diets, for example, a liquid diet, etc., if they're recovering from some sort of ailment, condition, surgery, etc. Regardless, it is very important to note that your cat likely cannot stay on the same diet for their entire life. This is because depending on their life stage and their reproductive status, their nutritional needs change. And if their nutritional needs change, that means that you would also have to do some research and a consultation with your veterinarian to ensure that you're feeding them something that is appropriate. Now, by appropriate, we mean something that is nutritionally complete. This means that it contains all the nutrition your cat needs in order to grow, repair tissues, and reproduce if they are reproducing, and to generally live a normal, healthy life. So that is what a complete diet is supposed to do. There are some cats that may not require dietary changes, but it is always a good idea to have this discussion with your veterinarian, particularly because we live at a time where unfortunately many pets are overweight and obese. And contrary to popular opinion, there is no perceived health benefits of having a pet that is overweight or obese. I do understand that many people find them cute on social media in the context of videos, etc. However, at its core, obesity and being overweight is considered a health issue for pet cats. And it can also lead to other health issues or make other health issues much worse. For example, arthritis can be much worse if a cat is heavier versus if a cat is off a normal weight range. Fat in itself is actually not just an energy reserve. Fat is actually able to produce a hormone which in high enough amounts does cause a very low-grade chronic inflammation all over your pet's body. This is in fact true for humans as well. So there is actually no benefit to having a pet that is excessively overweight or obese. So your pet's nutrition is definitely something you should consider revising in the coming year. Number 5, if I was getting a new cat to, introduce to my existing cat, or if I were getting a new pet, I would thoroughly make it my mission to properly research the compatibility of the two species. Now, obviously, if you're introducing a cat to another cat, you're not introducing two species. They are the same species. However, cats do have tendencies to not get along with newcomers at times. Some cats are very, very well bonded with their owners and they do not appreciate the presence of another cat hogging attention from their owners. Other cats tend to be very, very easygoing and they don't really have much of an issue socializing with other cats. So this is something that, would require a case-by-case evaluation. However, many pet species, especially small mammals and birds, are not compatible with cats. So I would not house them together, especially not unsupervised, Or I would make it my resolution to house them separately, which means that in different rooms with all their worldly possessions, example, their food, water, toys, etc., not being in contact with the other species. So for example, hamsters can become, prey for cats. Cats will perceive hamsters as prey, most likely. Same goes for almost all pet birds. Same goes for guinea pigs as well, rabbits as well, rats, mice, etc. So the list is actually endless. And this sort of high level of incompatibility is actually because cats are by nature carnivores, and therefore they often view smaller animals as prey. And it is very important to note that when a cat is playing with another animal, they are in fact hunting, not playing. So the perception of a cat playing is something that is purely what we think is happening. So it's what humans think is going on, when in fact a cat that tries to, for example, play with a hamster or a mouse is not playing. They're actually trying to practice their hunting skills. And this obviously will not end well for one or both of these species. Number 6 on my resolution list, if I were to adopt a cat, I would definitely research the breed first. Now, there are many breeds that are banned in some parts of the world. So you have to be very careful when it comes to selecting a very special breed that you might be, interested in. And there are other breeds of cats that have very specific issues, health issues, that are purely related to the breed itself. For example, Maine Coon cats are very prone to specific heart conditions. Now, this is because it is genetic, so it requires, thorough testing of both parents before, they're allowed to have kittens together. But generally speaking, purebred cats need to be thoroughly researched to ensure that you are very well aware of what tests should be done on the parents by the breeder before they are bred, and what health conditions you should anticipate as a prospective owner. Therefore, if I were adopting a pet cat in the coming year, yay, hopefully, fingers crossed, I would definitely want to research the breed that I'm going for. It does bear mentioning that there is actually no reason why you cannot adopt just like a mutt or a mixed breed cat. Domestic short hairs, domestic long hairs, or mixed cats are actually perfectly fine. And from a genetic point of view, they're actually, in most cases, considered healthier than purebred cats. Because they tend to have more genetic variance in their gene pool as compared to purebred cats, because purebred cats are mated with extreme control as to who the parents, grandparents, etc. are. Next, I would definitely consider having my male cats castrated and my female cats spayed. This is also known as fixing in many parts of the world, and I would obviously do this if they are intact. Cats are very prolific breeders, and a cat that is in heat, a female cat that is in heat, is one of the most notoriously loud and notoriously persistent animals to stay with, in so much as they tend to yowl and cry all the time in an effort to either lure a male closer to them or to escape and go find a male. And this can be very cumbersome to live with. And if you live in, let's say, an apartment or an area where noise is a concern, this can definitely get you in trouble. Beyond that, a cat that is intact has, an increased risk for several health conditions down the line, and these are mostly involving reproductive health disorders. Likewise, intact males will often try to escape to go find a mate, that they want to procreate with. They are also more likely to get into fights with other tomcats in an effort to reach the female. And unfortunately, they are also more likely to be hit by cars because they tend to be very daring in their mission to find a gal. So they will sometimes, haphazardly cross roads, etc., and get injured when they're hit by a motor vehicle or a bike, etc. So these are definitely things you want to avoid. And please do keep in mind that there are health benefits that have been documented that do exist in animals that are fixed. And this actually ties in with a point I made earlier, is that usually when cats are spayed or castrated, you might also hear the word neutered, by the way. It's all a reference to the same thing. Their nutritional requirements actually change, and they're usually slightly lower than those of intact pets. So after you do this, you would definitely have to modify your cat's diet in the near future in terms of their caloric intake. One more thing that I'd be very careful about as a cat owner or a prospective cat owner. Right now, there is a mysterious illness on the rise in dogs in the United States, and this affects the dog's respiratory system. And there is still investigative work being done on this mystery illness in order to identify the root cause and hopefully find a solution or a cure or a preventive for this problem, because this is something that we do not know the causative agent of. Now, as a cat owner, there have been no reports of these diseases in cats so far. However, I would be very mindful of the news and keep a check on local news to see if there is ever any reports of this disease being reported in cats, that I would be very much ready and knowledgeable and know what to do based on the guidelines that are put forth by the veterinary institutions of my state, county, or country. So I would do that just as a precautionary step as a pet owner who means well for their cat. And my last resolution as a cat owner is I would never try to convert my cat to a diet of a vegetarian or a vegan. Now, vegetarianism and veganism is on the rise with humans. And if that's a personal choice that you wish to, adopt for yourself, that's perfectly fine. Some people are vegetarian or vegan by choice. Some people are vegetarian or vegan because of cultural reasons, religious reasons, etc. Some people do it for health reasons, and that's all fine. However, cats are considered obligate carnivores, and they cannot adapt to such a diet. And it is considered animal cruelty in some parts of the world. And depending on where you stay, you can actually get in trouble for depriving cats of meat. So I always tell people who wish to have a pet that is vegetarian or vegan to not impose this on their pet cat and to just get a pet that is vegetarian or vegan by default. For example, a guinea pig or a rabbit. Those pets are wonderful companions if you need an animal in your house that follows your same, dietary restrictions, because they would have no problem. In fact, they would appreciate it if they were, solely vegetarian or vegan. So that would be perfect for someone like that. And that wraps up this video, guys. I do sincerely hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much to all our followers who've been with us this entire year. We wish everyone a very safe holiday season, a very healthy 2024, a very prosperous 2024, and we do hope the very same for your pets as well. For now, this is me, Dr. Lukman, signing off. I'll catch you in the next video. Merry Christmas once again, happy holidays to everyone who's celebrating, and of course, a very happy new year. Bye, guys!